Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Carbon or Bunny, and this is Carbony Cosplay, where I talk about all of the cosplays and crafts that I've been working on over the past couple weeks. I post every other week, and I just kind of talk about the things I've been making. So if you're interested in that, stick around. So I have a lot to talk about this week. I got a lot done. And if you're not interested in listening to me just yap and you just want to see what I made, I'm going to try and do those little like chapter things this week. So look around the video. If you don't see the chapters, I'm going to put timestamps in the description. That way you can just like skip to listening to me talk about this pile of items next to me that I made this week. So let's see. Okay, I have notes this time. I had notes last time too. You just didn't see them. So, anyways, okay. Channel updates. I am definitely posting every other week. I tried to upload last week and it was too much for me. Doing a video every single week and like making enough stuff to post every single week is too high a bar for me. I can't do it. I have too many other responsibilities, and so I'm going to be posting every other week. So that'll be exciting, and it looks like Tuesdays is a really good upload day for me. So we're going to be going for every other Tuesday in the AM will be when I'm posting. Other things. So a couple of you mentioned to me that I had some audio issues last week where like my audio was only showing up in like the left headphone, and I edit on an iPad and I don't have headphones in, so I didn't catch that when I was editing. So thank you very much for messaging me that. I'm going to try and fix it this week. I hope it's fixed this week. Who knows? Oh. And then if you do notice anything else that's like a technical issue with my channel or like something else that you think just like isn't quite right or could improve the video quality or something like that, please tell me in the comments. I want to hear your feedback. I want to know how to do better, I guess, or how to be less obnoxious or have less egregious errors, something along those lines. So if you see something like that, please either like message me on like the app that you know me through first, or if you met me through YouTube, please leave a comment. Okay, what else? Okay, other things. I bought a new sewing machine this week. So this is just kind of like generally a life update. My daily driver is a Genome that I've had for like 2 or 3 years, and I haven't taken her in for maintenance yet. And the last build I did had a bunch of shedding on some of the fibers, the wool I was working with, and then also some of the cotton threads I was working with. They were just shedding like crazy. And so I opened up my little bobbin case on the underside because it's a front loading bobbin on my Genome. And I pulled like a hamster's worth of lint out of there. And then after I pulled the lint out, she started squeaking. So when your machine is squeaking, that typically means that it's not oiled appropriately anymore, or like some part of the machine doesn't have enough oil. And so you have like metal rubbing on metal, which is very, very bad. And you don't want that to be happening. So I brought her in for maintenance, but the only place that I know of locally that does machine maintenance, it's a 5-week waiting time. And I, as like a person, cannot live without my sewing machine for 5 weeks straight. That's too much. So I picked up one of their floor models. They were having a sale. I kind of knew this was going to happen anyways. I called like 2 weeks ago to ask about how long it would be on maintenance, just to kind of get a feel for how long it would be. And I was like, okay, I'm going to have to like have a backup machine. I do have another brother on the other side of the house, but that brother was exceedingly well loved by college students. So she's not in great shape, and I never want to sew on that machine again. I'm actually not sure why I still have her. I really need to like get her maintenance and then just sell her, because like I have some rough memories learning how to sew on a poorly maintained machine that has a lot of issues with it. So I knew I wasn't going to be sewing on the brother. So I picked up this little brunette. She's really cute. She was a floor model. She was like an extra 20% off because they're like getting rid of some of their older floor models. She's from 2016. I have her like warranty card that I need to mail in, and she was like $300. So I'm okay with that, to have a backup machine in case like, God forbid, I'm in the middle of like a crunch or something, or like I've got a competition coming up and like something goes like extremely wrong with my daily driver. I will have this one now as a backup machine. And then while I was there, I was looking a little disrespectfully at some of their fancier machines. I was not willing to drop just like $1,400 on a new machine, because that's a lot of money to decide to just like spend on a whim, and I don't need another machine that much. Honestly, if I could have rented this for like $200, I would have done that, but it was not an option. So I just kind of picked her up and I have her now, and I'm excited to get sewing with her. I'll be using her for the next 2 weeks. So I guess I'll have a check on like how much I like her in the next video. So that'll be something to look forward to. Okay, those were the channel updates that we had for the week. Up next, I have weekly inspo. This is just kind of like a bit of a fangirl moment. So we all know the new Avatar movie came out, and we had like a little bit of information on the costuming and like all of the work that Weta Workshop put into the costuming, but we've been getting a lot more. And so a couple weeks ago, I think it was almost 3 weeks ago at this point, I emailed them asking for more information because I was going through a bunch of their BTS videos and they like handmade every costume. And like Deborah Scott and her team went around to a bunch of different indigenous cultures in the Pacific Islands to go see what they make and how they make it. That way they could get inspiration for the movie. And I emailed them asking if they had any references that they knew of that had some of the information about some of the cultures that they were talking to and like some of the people they were talking to see. I was just really interested. Like, what are y'all weaving over there, guys? Oh no, I'm kind of curious. How do you do it? Maybe I want to make something like that. That sounds really cool. And they emailed me back. Oh my God, they emailed me back. Oh my God, they emailed me back. They gave me a bunch of book recommendations on different types of weaving and beaded kumihimo that they used. That was actually something that was really exciting. Before I like emailed them, I was looking through some of the costumes and I like recognized some of the techniques that they used, which was really cool. I didn't think I'd be able to recognize weaving techniques like that because I just started last year. I don't know. It was a really cool, like, I know something new. Oh my God, I learned something. I don't know. That's really cheesy and really dorky, but I had a lot of fun learning it. I had a similar moment also in Japan in December when I was looking at, here, let me see. Ooh, let me reach. Okay. This is a total tangent. I'm sorry, guys. These are 3 that I picked up. I purely picked these up for references and because this one is pink and I think it's cute. I learned how to weave a couple different ways. I learned tablet weaving last year, and then I also learned kumihimo on a loom. I actually made a loom in order to do all of the weaving I needed for my Monster Hunter cosplay. And while I was in Japan, I was like shopping around because they've got a lot of like vintage kimono shops and stuff like that. And I was digging through the boxes of like the old obi cords, and I was like, I know how to make that. I know how to make that too. Oh my God, I know that weave. Oh my God, I know that one too. Oh, I know what type of variation this is. And it was just like, I don't know, it was really fun. It was really cool. It's been a minute since I like learned a skill on my own and then went somewhere and was like, oh my God, I know how that works. But it's been really fun and really exciting, and it's really cool what you can learn on the internet and especially on YouTube with just like a couple hours of your time and like emailing people very politely for assistance or like reference materials that they really like. So yeah, anyway, that was really fun. But yeah, they emailed me back. I'm gonna buy some of the books and then I'll see what I do with them. I don't know. I might not do anything with them for the next couple months. There are a couple pieces from Avatar that I do really want to make. I really want to make the bow, Natiri's bow, because it's gorgeous and it's beautiful. Being able to do some of the weaving that they've done in those movies is absolutely gorgeous and would be so cool to recreate. And the original artists sent me materials to learn how to recreate it. So that's really, really fun. And then after that, like, I don't know, once you know how to do like the weaving algorithms, are they algorithms? The weaving patterns, algorithms, whatever you'd like to call them, it's just kind of looking at the piece and reverse engineering it. And that's also a really fun process, which is why I cosplay. Duh. Anyways, okay. That was a bit of a rant for weekly inspo. I don't know. I was just really happy when they emailed me back and I wanted to talk about it. So yeah, that was really cool. All right. So everything I made this week. So the first 3 things, I don't have them. They've already been given away. So I have like a little clip that I filmed like the day I was like running over to go see Pepper to give her her new blanket. I will insert that before we leave a mean comment about my hair. I have hot yoga in like 20 minutes and I'm getting my roots done tomorrow, so my hair has to be greasy so that my scalp doesn't burn when I get processed. Anyways, okay, so I found out earlier today that Miss Pepperoni got a little sick. She was in the emergency vet for a while and she's now at home with her dad, and her entire butt has been shaved and she's just generally not feeling great. So I am going over to drop off some of her stuff, and before I did that today, I decided to make her a blanket. So I wanted to do like a little like boop in the video that actually has footage of the blanket that I made for her. So what I did was I used the same process that I did for the one that I made last week. It's 2 cotton fabrics. This floral that I have on the inside is from a fabric store in Japan, and then the other one on the outside is like a brushed cotton flannel, and it is from the late great Joanne's. We miss her so much. I used the same embroidery file that I used on her little bandana so that they were matching. Like I said, I found out and I had like an hour to make her blanket, so I went through this pretty quickly. But the seams are just Frenched on her blanket. I would have footage of me sewing them, but I forgot to hit record because again, it's my second YouTube video. I'm really sorry, guys. I didn't do the good sewing thing and I didn't press my fabrics before I sewed them together. So you'll see in some of the like footage that I have that they are pretty wrinkly. And to help hide some of the alignment errors from that, I did a special stitch around the edge of it and then I ironed it in a way so that like I ironed it from like the edges in. That way you wouldn't be able to tell that the two fabrics don't align perfectly. And then also what I'm really liking on this fabric is that I felt like the stitch line really blended in with the patterns of the design. And so it doesn't feel as like in your face of a stitch. It feels like a little bit more natural and blended. And I really like that. I wound up using that stitch on the other two puppy blankets I made this week. I was very, very busy that day. I had like an hour to make her a blanket. I knew that she had hot spots all over her like back and everything, like her lower back from like her tail to like halfway up her spine. I'm not gonna insert pictures or anything. I'm not gonna out her like that, okay? That is like the worst I've ever seen her looking. We don't need to immortalize her lowest moments on the internet. All right, guys, we're not gonna see any pictures of sad hurt puppy. We will see videos of her eating french fries though, because she is an angel and she had a very hard week and she deserves french fries. I also was able to give her her bandana that I made last week. So I've got a little picture from last week that I promised of her wearing her bandana. I've got a couple of them. One of them she's extremely upset with me, but she's fine. She got a piece of cheese for wearing a bandana. So I think she's the real winner in that deal. But yeah, so I made her that blanket. I also helped out for, I think like an hour or two, just kind of cleaning up her fur and making sure that she was like, I don't know, clean. She had a couple mats under her fur still, got those out and everything, and snipped out a fair amount of fur to make it easier to access some of the like scabs and wounds that she still had that were healing up with the topical medication that the vet was given, or that the vet gave to her. I decided I still wasn't done making stuff for her because she's an angel and I love her. Also, it's really freaking cold. I'm sure everyone knows this because the like cold front just passed through like all of the states. Like Chicago and Minnesota already started getting it while I'm filming it right now, and then like the rest of the East Coast is gonna get it while I'm editing. But it's been really freaking cold and she doesn't have any of her little husky fur on her butt. So I made her these two really cute little skirts and they just Velcro onto the harness she wears. She doesn't wear a collar. She's not a dog that is capable of running away. She's got some spinal issues. Like genuinely, I do not think she could run away if she wanted to. So she doesn't wear a collar in the house and she's always supervised and like on a lead when she goes out. So she wears a little harness because that's just a little bit easier for her to work with. I added the hook side of the Velcro to the outside of the harness. And then I added the soft side, the eye side of the Velcro to the skirts, just in case, like, I don't know, you're like missing the Velcro when you're putting it on. I just didn't want there to be any opportunity for the Velcro to like scratch her or get caught in her fur. So I put the soft side on the side that would be like facing towards her fur. Anyways, so I did two separate patterns for these. I can't tell you how I patterned these. I just kind of guessed. I did get measurements of Pepper the night that I went over to go see her, but I also just like kind of pictured holding her in my head and then like measured my hands for how big I thought she was. And that also worked out just really, really well. Just guess and check, y'all. It'll be fine. Part of it was also okay because like she's tiny and she's a puppy, and like if it was a little bit too big, I would have just like hemmed it up like an inch or whatever she needed. But also being too big is fine because it just means she's gonna stay a little bit warmer and extra wind will be off of her, which is not a big deal. I do think I have a picture of her wearing one of them. They worked out really, really well. They were really effective. I'm really happy with it. They're really easy to put on and off, and they're cute, and they match her little ducky harness that I also bought for her. Listen, okay, I know I talk a lot about Miss Pepperoni. That's because she's the closest thing I know to a baby. And whenever I feel the need to make something for someone, most of those feelings get channeled into the closest thing to a baby I know, which is Miss Pepperoni. I'm a millennial. I don't know anyone with children. Oh my gosh. So that is Miss Pepper. Those are her health updates. She is looking so much better. She's so much happier. She's got her like puppy energy back. You can see her wanting to like play and run around and stuff like that. So that's really, really good. Anyways, those are all my Pepper updates. I know that was very, very long. I'm sorry for the ramble, or congratulations for having more to listen to while you work on your own projects. The next thing I worked on last week were a couple more puppy things. Oh my God, who would have guessed? These are actually probably the last puppy things I'll be working on for a minute. I'm getting a little deep fried on them and kind of want to make something a little bit more substantial than just like hemmed rectangles. Probably going to be the last like puppy update things that I make for a couple weeks. No shade to hemmed rectangles. Hemmed rectangles literally clothed the entire world for like 800 years. I would just like to make something a little bit more complicated and challenging for a minute. So the next step is I made these really cute puppy bandanas for Jed. So Jed is one of my grandpa's dogs. He is named after a wizard in a sci-fi book in the 70s. So I wanted to give him like a really like wizardly themed bandana. I mostly used the default monogramming tool, but then after I got like kind of the general vibe I was looking for, I went in and I just nitpicked the absolute hell out of it until I was happy. And I think it looks really cute. So I made him a bandana because my grandma asked me to make him a little bandana. And then also I made him a blanket because I saw this fabric and I had already made pepperoni a blanket. So why not make another one? Hemmed rectangles, making the world go round since, oh my God, when did we invent weaving? Since a very long time ago. I'll stop making hemmed rectangle jokes, guys. I'm sorry. So I made those. I think they're really cute. They came out really, really quick and easy. Again, it's just like a brushed cotton for one layer, and then I use just like a regular like quilting cotton for the other one. I try and find quilting cottons that have a little bit higher quality print. That way they last longer after they go through the wash, because dog blankets get washed because dog blankets get nasty fluids on them. That is the life of being a puppy. I just want to make sure that they're a little bit more durable. Same thing goes for the baby blankets that I made last week. These two turned out really, really cute. They're super simple. They're really easy. I'm happy with how his little emblem came out. I think it's very cute. I wasn't the happiest with the thread colors that I went with. I just felt like they were a little too matchy-matchy. Like I didn't get enough contrast in them. I don't think they look bad. I just think like for next time, as I'm learning to embroider and learning to do these things, that I need to go for things that have more contrast in them. That way they're visible. And I'm really just kind of finding that line personally. Oh, actually, hold on. Other life update that I totally forgot. I applied to C2E2. Oh my God, egg on my face. I was complaining last week about C2E2 not having their applications opened. They opened 4 days before I filmed that video and I just hadn't checked in 4 days. So I put my application in. Sorry, C2E2. I was complaining for nothing. That was definitely my mistake. Put my application in. I entered my Monster Hunter cosplay. Let me roll her over. I entered this lovely lady for C2E2. I'm not entirely sure that she is the best C2E2 cosplay, specifically because they divide their cosplays up, like they divide the categories for awards into 3 specific categories, and she really straddles the line between 2 categories. And so, I don't know, I definitely think she's big enough and she is detailed enough, let me tell you. I don't know, I just think it would be cool to be accepted. I worked really hard on her. I learned a lot of new skills. Like I said earlier in the video, I learned how to weave, so like all of these pieces, basically anywhere you see a cord on her, I hand wove. And places you don't see a cord on her, I also hand wove them. Everything's lined on this piece. I don't need to go into it that deep. We don't need to do an exploration of this build. I can talk about that next week if you're interested. Let me know. I did put in my application for C2E2, so I'll be waiting to find out if I get accepted. And if I get accepted, I will be returning to this build. There's a couple places that got damaged, specifically the boots, and then she's got, I forget the name of the mask. I've got a mask down here that got like the paint job, just got like a little beat up walking around the convention that I need to like repaint. And a couple other minor things like that need to happen. I don't think I need to resew anything on her. Excited to find out if I get into C2E2, and if so, I can't wait to hang out backstage and talk to a bunch of cosplayers for like 8 hours straight, 2 days in a row. Extremely excited at that possibility. But yeah, so I put that application in. I'm excited to find out about it. I know I said that like 8 billion times. I will probably edit some of it out, or y'all can just hear my excitement for 4 minutes straight. After I put in my C2E2 application, 2XKO came out. And part of all of the like marketing around that was announcing a lot of the skin lines that are coming out along with it. So Caitlyn has 4 skins that are coming out, and I know I want to make Caitlyn. I just don't want to make a Jinx wig in Q1 of this year, and I don't want to work with faux fur for Ahri, and I am not jacked like Alawi is, so Alawi's kind of out for me. Cosplay who you want, who makes you happy. If I was going to cosplay Alawi, personally, I would need to be bodybuilding. I cannot disrespect a jacked woman like that. Same thing with Vi. Also, I don't like big gloves. That sounds annoying. I don't want to make that. So I'm going to be making a Caitlyn skin. And I was looking at the skin she already has announced. Now, all of the skins that are coming out between like now and February 26th have been announced. So they're like, Snow Moon Caitlyn might get announced sometime in the next like 25 days or something. But I don't want to wait that long to get started on a cosplay for Combo Breaker. So I was looking at these two skins and I am a little bit dysmorphic. And so I definitely need to be wearing a corset or like extremely in shape, which is really hard to do for me because I'm vegan. And when you travel, it's really hard to find vegan food that isn't like crazy high in salt and makes me get bloated really bad. And so wearing like a skin tight bodysuit like Arcane Caitlyn is a risky ask for me. And so that's just kind of like out of my range for wearing cosplays a little bit. Bodysuits like that are just generally not the best thing for my mental or for liking pictures that I get back from it because I'm not going to edit my body. I don't want to do any of that Photoshop stuff. So I decided to go with base Caitlyn. And at first, like 4 weeks ago, I was really opposed to this skin because big cosplay secret, I've never made pants for a cosplay and I never want to. And it looks like she's wearing pants, but I've decided I'm just going to do black dancer's tights and that's going to solve my problem and it's going to be fine. Also because like, I'm pretty sure they added the tights in as like a modesty thing because they aren't in like some of her other, I don't think they're in some of her other skins. I don't think so. I don't think they're in her skins on the Rift. Anyway, it looks like a modesty thing and like looking at some of her movements and her animations, I understand why. This is definitely like not a Gooner bait game. So she has tights on, which I respect. Anyway, I'm just gonna wear black tights. I think it'll look really, really good. And also, I like black tights. I think they're really hot. I love wearing them for other outfits and stuff. So like, hell yeah, huge boon. So once I was like 80% sure I wanted to do this Caitlyn skin, I started drawing her just to like get a feel for all of the shapes that are in the build, kind of like start those gears moving in my head for how I want to make things. I'm really excited to make a hat. That sounds really cool. I get to learn how to make hats. I've never made a hat before for cosplay, so that's going to be really exciting. Especially not like such like a bold, structured top hat as Caitlyn's. I'm always excited to learn new skills for cosplays. A lot of the way I picked cosplays for the past 5 years, if I wasn't learning something new, I wasn't making that costume. And so that's been something that's really, really pushed my growth as a cosplayer, as an artist, is to have competitions, which have been like 2 to 3 times a year, where I am forced to learn a new skill well enough that I feel confident in competing with that skill. Let me tell you, you level up real quick when you do that one. So I'm really excited to learn how to make a hat for that. I think I'm also going to do a helmet wig underneath it. She's got like this half up, half down hairstyle that's really cute. So I'm going to do a helmet wig for the top half of her wig, which is how I did my Monster Hunter. Other things that I'm doing for her. The dress I'm really excited for. So I didn't draw in all the details that I want to do for the dress. So the dress is going to be a halter top because I think that's going to be the easiest and also the coolest. The event that I'm wearing this for is not typically super hot, but it's not cold either. So I definitely need a way to cool down because I'm going to be in tights, I'm going to be in spats, and I'm going to be in a jacket and a long wig. And those wigs are sweaty. So I need a way to be able to cool off. So I'm not going to do any sleeves on the dress. We also don't see if she has sleeves anywhere in any of her reference art or any of her in-game models for this skin specifically. So I'm not like breaking canon or anything by not adding sleeves onto the dress. I'm just making it easier for me to wear. The other thing that I didn't draw in, okay, 2 things. I'm going to have a corset under this. I'll talk about that in a little bit. And then I'm also going to have like a white skirt. And I did make that skirt and I'll get to it. Like we'll talk about that in a couple minutes. Got that. I'm going to be doing leather for all of her little leggy bags, which I'm really excited for. And then also I'm going to be making her spats. And I am going to change her shoes to be a little bit taller. I am short. I'm 5'2". And all of these girlies have what I like to call terminally long anime legs. Guilty Gear is really bad about this. Granblue Fantasy is really bad about this. Basically any like cartoon girly has terminally long anime legs. And so I like to wear 6-inch platform heels. That way I go from 5'2" to 5'8", which is at least like encroaching on like model height range. That way like my entire body looks more Barbie doll shaped because that is like the vibe that I'm going for. I want to look like a cartoon. I want to look fake. I do not want to look like just like a human in a dress. You know what I mean? I want to look a little goofy. I like that in a cosplay. It's a costume. Have fun with it. Play with your silhouette. explore. It's really fun. I'm gonna do her jacket. I think I'm gonna do like a cotillion for this. I haven't ordered swatches for her jacket yet, but I've ordered swatches for a couple other things. I ordered blue silk swatches for her dress. I'm not entirely sure I'm gonna make her dress out of silk, but I don't know. Any excuse to give silkwear and more money, I am down for. I do need to find a couple of cotton alternatives. I'm not entirely sure I want to do a cotton broadcloth for this, but I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what I want to do for the fabric for her dress. It might wind up being like a silk dress and then like a more structured military jacket. That way it still keeps a lot of the like rich girl Kierman family trust fund baby, you know, type of vibe going on in the dress. And then I can have military aspirational jacket in more of like the Kierman military vibe going on there. Okay, other things that I'm going to make for her jacket. I don't know what fabrics I'm going to do for that. I'm going to think about it for the next 2 weeks and have an update for y'all later. Same thing with her belt. I would probably use the belt with just make the belt out of like offcuts that I have from the rest of the costume. That way all of the textiles look the same. Not sold on making leather gloves for this costume. Also, that's gonna be sweaty. Ew, gross. And this is already a really sweaty costume, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do for that yet. I'm gonna figure out later. I do want to do an actual lace detail for her cuffs. In game, a lot of the 2XKO style kind of strips away a lot of the detail work that I've really been enjoying in other costumes. That's not a bad thing. Like, it's a really bold stylistic choice, and I think it makes the game read really, really well on screen, and it doesn't get too busy, which I like. Also, I'm an extra cosplayer, so I might learn a new type of lace making, either handmade lace or digitize the lace like in Hatch and then make the lace on my embroidery machine. I might do one of those two. I haven't quite decided yet, but I do want to do something a little bit more detailed than what she has. And then I didn't draw the rest of the costume because, well, I have the 3D model for her gun, so I don't really need to sketch that one out on paper because I already have access to the model. So once I got my sketch together and I kind of had like a better idea in my brain of how I wanted to make her, I started looking at mock-ups. I started with this skirt that I have. I'll insert a picture. I have a picture of the two different ones. I have a default skirt. I just like traced this from another skirt that I own, and I've used it to make a couple other skirts in the past. Really straightforward, really easy, and it is not the right height. So I did a different version of the skirt, and I did a second mock-up, and this is the shape that I came to. Something that was really important about this skirt is that I knew I wanted it to be 2 separate layers because I want to reduce the amount of fabric that is sitting at my immediate waistline. That way, when I'm building up the silhouette, I'm able to bulk out my hips and my shoulders with the skirt, and then I'll bulk my shoulders out with the jacket. That way it gives me like this really extreme hourglass shape, because you can only make your waist so tiny, but you can make your shoulders as wide as you want, and you can make your hips as wide as you want. And as long as you keep the balance really nice, you can still have like a really clean silhouette that I think looks very good and is typically what I'm going for in my costumes. I needed this to not be a high-waisted skirt. I only wanted it to go up to my hips. And then once I had those patterns, I actually just jumped right in and I made what I thought was going to be the final skirt. I'll talk about that. Okay, so here's the skirt. I'm sorry, I don't have a better way to show this off. It has a slit up the side. This is so it actually like fits over my ass. I hate this skirt and I'm gonna remake it, and I'm really salty about it. So I had the skirt pattern and then I was like, oh, well, it's only like Tuesday. It might have even been Monday. I made the skirt pattern and the skirt pattern fit and was perfect in like 30 minutes. And I was like, okay, well, let me go through to my stash. Maybe I have fabrics that I can make this with. So I pulled out the fabric that I made this out of. It is a leftover fabric that I have from another costume, but it is the only white fabric I have in my stash that I don't need to remake parts for Monster Hunter, because I almost cut that fabric up. And then I was like, no, you need that to update Monster Hunter. So this is the only actual white fabric I had in my stash that was like available for me to use. It is an old synthetic that I had. I'm pretty sure I bought this for Vera. This is one of Vera's fabrics. I'm pretty sure I made Vera's skirt out of this. I also used some of this fabric to make another dress that I'll talk about in a second. I used this fabric, and I'll put a picture up of what it looks like on me in my like current default corset that I wear for costumes. And I hate this. I think it looks hideous. Okay, I'm gonna try and be nicer to my own work. I don't think like I messed up the pattern or anything. I really hate the drape and the structure of this fabric. I think it looks really synthetic. I think it looks really fake. I don't want to have that like super sharp line that's like standing up straight over my like hip. I'm just not a fan of how that looks. So I ordered more fabric in order to make this out of. I had some swatches for other whites in my drawers. I ordered some new white cotton from FWD because I love them and they have never steered me wrong they steered me wrong once in the past. I love them. And the part that I'm really upset about for the skirt is that like the construction's like really nice. I did like a really good job making the skirt. I'll insert some clips that I took. The top part of the skirt is understitched, and then I did this really nice prick stitch for tacking down the linen lining on the inside. Technically, this is extremely well executed, and I put it together really fast. I think overall, maybe 2 hours to make. I think the thing that took me the longest was like doing the math on like how wide I needed the ruffles to be. And I have to remake it. I have to totally like rip this thing apart if I want to I haven't decided if I'm going to reuse the linen lining. I have to remake the skirt, and I'm really upset about it. I'm also going to be remaking the corset. So the corset in the picture is one that I made this time last year. And since then, my workout routine has changed. I've been doing a lot more yoga. I'm doing hot yoga like twice a week and then another yoga flow once a week, like in between. So it's like 3 hours of yoga a week, and my shoulders and butt are way bigger than they were when I made that corset. So I just have like more muscle. And so there's some problem fit areas on that corset. And also the top like 2 inches are getting really hard to zip up as I build up some of my like middle back muscles as I get some of my form better. So I need to change that pattern. And in addition to that, I do want to make a little bit of an aesthetic change. I do really like the like hard cut in for a lot of my costumes. I did that extreme cut in for Ahri and for Monster Hunter because I knew I was going to have a bunch of really finicky layers sitting on top of them. So like for Ahri, because it was a wrap skirt that sat right below my rib cage, it was going to flare out starting from my rib cage and leave me 0 waistline, which would make me cry about pictures. Again, not a judgment call, just like a me problem that I need to work around. And so I did understitching on the skirt in order to like keep the silhouette like tighter to my body until my hips start to flare out. That way I do still have like a little bit of a waistline and I look closer to the in-game model and also closer to how I want to look in pictures, because I do heavily consider both of those whenever I'm designing a costume and the foundation layers for a costume. So Caitlyn is a little bit different. I'm not gonna call it a slip dress, but like it's kind of just like a slip dress that she's wearing. So I don't have to worry about that many layers of fabric being built up on my waistline. And so I can make a corset that's like a little bit bigger that still gives me the silhouette that I really, really like, and still looks well when I have other layers built on top of it, but that is a little bit less extreme. Not that my other corsets are uncomfortable. The other one that I have in the picture that I showed with the skirt, that is a very comfortable corset. Like I can wear that for like, okay, it's not a corset, it's a bunny suit. Like it's a full Playboy bunny suit. I can wear that for 14 hours and be like totally fine. My back needs to pop at the end of it, but that's just because like I'm not used to like standing up with proper posture, you know what I mean? Not because of anything, like it's not pinchy, I don't feel constricted more than, I don't know, like corsets kind of constrict you, but not in a bad way. Like you're just kind of like in a nice hug all day is the easiest way to describe it. But yeah, I'm really happy with all of the patterns and the direction that I'm going to go in. I do have the pattern picked out for what I'm going to make Caitlyn's dress out of. Let me awkwardly reach over for that. So this is the extremely well-loved pattern that I'm going to be using. This is a really old butterwick pattern. I paid $1 for this. I used it when I made my first Valentine cosplay. I'll put like a picture up of me wearing that dress. I really like wearing this pattern over corsets, but it also just like fits me naturally really well. I did find my old pattern from when I was working on remaking Valentine from Skullgirls for her new design in 22, but this pattern doesn't have the back panel in it. So I have to remake the whole thing anyways because I'm missing a key point. Like I'm missing an entire panel. I really like the way this dress fits, and more importantly, seam lines that are already on the dress, this like very like princess no darts paneled dress, it aligns with Caitlyn's colorways anyways. Those are the same lines on her dress, so I don't need to do any like fancy color blocking in order to make her dress fit properly. Basically I was gonna do that mock-up this week, and then I saw I was missing the piece and I said I'm gonna go play Animal Crossing. Which is fine because I already made so much stuff this week that this video is already like a million hours long. Finally, the last thing I worked on this week. This is the last thing I made this week. I love the FGC. I've been in the FGC for a really long time. I've been here for like a decade. If you go to Combo Breaker, you have seen me on main stage all but 1 year with an award-winning cosplay there. So I love the FGC. I've been doing this for like a really long time. And I love League of Legends, and I've been playing League of Legends for even longer. I'm just really excited to be able to make stuff for League. I started digitizing some of the emotes. This is the first one I got to. This is something that I'll just kind of like, if I don't want to work on anything, but I still want to feel productive, I will open up something on my iPad and I wind up just tracing it. So I like this is like a hand traced thing that I did on my iPad that I then so like I digitize it into an SVG on my iPad and then I turn the SVG into a PNG and then my embroidery software digitizes that and then I clean that up and then I can put it through my machine. But I think it turned out really, really cute. I wanted to do a more multicolor one. I wanted to do like a really big patch because I just really enjoy making these sorts of things and I wind up giving a lot of them away to like devs or like players or stuff like that. Like at Evo, I made like a ton of Poro snacks and oh, I just gave them to devs. It was really cute. There would be like a chain where like I would go talk to a writer and be like, okay, they told me to give this to you. Here's one. Who do you want me to give the next one to? And I just kind of like run around giving stuff to people, which is really, really fun. And I think it's a really nice way to like show appreciation to the people who make the art that you really like. Cause I mean, like, I don't want to say devs are just artists, but like a lot of artists work on these games and there's a lot of haters on twitter.com. But having like a nice moment with players, I think makes a really big difference. Yeah, I don't know. I just kind of like making these things. So I plan on digitizing a couple of the emotes that I think are really, really cute. And then I think I'm going to make patches that I can give to like players and friends and whoever I see that worked on the game that goes to like Combo Breaker or any of the other events that I give to is just to like, and the best part is that Caitlyn has pockets. So I can like have them in my little pocket bag. I don't have to like have another thing that I like carry around with all of this stuff. But yeah, that was everything I worked on over the past 2 weeks. And I read 5 books. What? I was crazy productive. That's insane. And I worked overtime at work. Sometimes I think I don't sleep, but I know I sleep like a lot. Anyways, yeah, I'm really excited for what I'm going to get started on next week. I have also started on Caitlyn's Rifles 3D model, but I don't have enough progress to show it off. I literally worked on it for like 10 minutes and I have like 4 cylinders in Blender. Like it's not very exciting. Like it's not a lot. That 3D model kind of looks like it's going to make me cry, but I will learn new things and she's going to turn out fine because most of the time you're the only one who notices your mistakes anyways. So yeah, that is what I worked on over the past 2 weeks. I hope you have been warm in this winter weather. If you're in the States, I know it is freezing outside. Let me know what your favorite piece was. Leave a little yellow emoji, whichever one is your favorite, in the comments, and I will see you next week. Bye. Oh, like and subscribe. Like and subscribe. Yeah. I'm knocking shit over. Okay. I think I need to be sillier while I'm recording. That might be the problem. I think I'm taking this too seriously.